Hey everyone, how are you? All right. Found this quick video popped up on YouTube today. I've done one similar to this, I think about a week or so ago, so I won't have too much new to offer on this one. But let me bring it over and we'll take a look at it. It looks to be like violence between Hindus and Muslims. So apparently that's a big issue over in India. So let's go ahead and start it. Boycott of some sort. All right, here we go. So obviously they have religious differences, and it's a bit awkward because you have Hinduism, right? It's been around for a long time, right? 2000 BC, somewhere around that era, somewhere 2000, 2300 BC. So been around a very long time, right? A lot of culture, a lot of history there. It's built in. People know it. So been around a very long time. Then you have Islam. I think it was like 600 AD, something like that. A couple hundred years after Jesus. So big time difference there. Hinduism's got a lot more history, a lot more culture built into it. And then you have Islam, right? At the end of the day, unfortunately, they're both incorrect. One appears to be much more violent, which is Islam, because it's based on the example of Muhammad, where if you go look at his life, you'll see that he was a treacherous person and a false prophet. But I've gone over that many times, and this is not the video for it. So by all means, go do your research. You'll see exactly who Muhammad is, and you can decide if you would want that person living next to you. Just make sure you put something around your neck and hide your wife and kids. But here they're going to be asking for basically they're asking for all the Muslims to be fired. So as far as Muslims, let me just pop over here. It's Hinduism, Islam. So it's like 1.8 billion people as of like 2015, maybe like 2 billion by now. I'm not sure. But many, 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 many Muslims in the world, right? They don't all even Christians, right? Even Christians, like I would guess like 99% of Christians aren't biblical scholars. They can't just like flip to a page and tell you what's in here, and they can't like off the top of their head just recite verses. Maybe a few that they hear in church that pastors decide they want to preach on, but there's many verses in here that most people have never heard of just because they're not the ones you would typically hear in church. Pastors definitely pick the ones that they like and they avoid the ones that they don't like. And the reason for that is that there's some bad stuff in here, right? There's some nasty things in here about slavery and all kinds of other things and how women are treated. So that's the problem you're going to run into, right? When you have a book that was written thousands of years ago. So to keep that in mind. But yeah, so like 2 billion Muslims, and they're upset with Muslims because maybe they think that their religion is violent, which it is. It is if you actually follow it and you follow the Quran and the teachings of Muhammad especially. If you use Muhammad's example, yeah, you're going to be cutting necks, you're going to be pillaging and shaking people down for money and raping and war brides, all kinds of nasty stuff. Child slaves, sex slaves, horrible stuff. So I get it that they're upset. That makes sense. I understand that. But with 2 billion people that consider themselves Muslims, just like Christianity, you're going to have people that consider themselves Christians. Maybe, I don't really so much care about church attendance. You got like remote, church attendance now. A lot of people, because of COVID, they would watch church online and things. Or you could do self-study, right? You read the Bible at home and, you have your relationship with God. You talk to God. You pray. You pray often. So you can be a Christian and not go to church. That's possible. But like I said, there's 2 billion Muslims roughly. And they're worried because probably some of them are very violent, right? They like to strap bombs to themselves and blow each other up and chop heads off and film that. So it's basically, some of them are just absolute terrorists because they're using their false prophet Muhammad as an example of how to live life. And that will turn you into basically a modern day pirate. So I understand, why they're upset. But out of those 2 billion, what percentage of them actually read the Quran, understand it, and follow the teachings of the false prophet? I don't know. I'm not sure. But it doesn't take many, right? When you're out there, blowing yourself up, or you're chopping heads off and doing things like that, or you're marrying 4 different wives and you're beating them and whatever. The very bad examples, right? It doesn't take many people like that to spoil it. Like one rotten apple spoils a bunch. Well, you get a couple people acting like Muhammad, and that can really destabilize an entire region, right? That kind of violence, it's awful, and God hates it. So that's probably why they're upset, right? Because that certain percentage of Muslims, of those 2 billion, they're actually following Muhammad's example, which is terrible. If even a percent of those do it, you're going to have serious problems, which is why that religion is a catastrophe. Built by a false prophet who was absolutely heinous. Just go study his life, you'll see why. So I understand why they're upset. I get it. But it gets awkward. Because at the same time, yes, Islam is a false religion. And I know that they're very passionate. And I know that their religion has been around for 2,300 years, something like that. So I get it. A lot of history there, a lot of culture. But it's awkward because Hinduism and Islam are both incorrect. They're both wrong. So now, of those two, at least initially, I thought that Hinduism was the less violent of them, right? The way they value animals, some of them, not all of them. They value some animals. And that seems that obviously we're not supposed to be killing God's creatures. We're supposed to be living in harmony, which is why veganism is key. It has to be done. But like I said, they seem like they're better on the scale as far as violence, but I didn't realize there was so much violence in Hinduism too until recently, until I started to see things pop up on YouTube. And now, I think it was like a week or two ago, there was an incident. And now we've got this, right? They're kind of marching through the streets and they're upset with Muslims. So, like I said, I understand why they're upset with Muslims. I get it. I'm not saying all 2 billion of those people are bad. Trust me, if all 2 billion of those people were out there, chopping heads off and blowing themselves up and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, acting like Muhammad, the world would be on fire right now. But it's not. So thankfully it's a small portion. And a lot of those Muslims are probably just Muslims, by title anyway. Who knows if they're actually, super hard practicing. I don't know. But here they go. Let's just watch the video and see what happens here. So they're going down the street. They're upset with the Muslims. Let's see what happens. See, but this is the point. They're both incorrect. They're both fighting each other, which is awkward because if you're God, like looking down, you're like, you got these two camps of people down here. These people have been around a lot longer. They got more culture, more history. They seem to be nicer, at least, from a cursory glance. Then you got this other group following the example of a modern day pirate, and they're fairly violent based on their religion. What choice do they have, right? It's a religion where if you want to leave, this is how the religion of peace, right? Islam is the religion of peace. It's so peaceful that if you try to leave, they'll kill you. That's how peaceful it is. It sounds awesome, doesn't it? How can you not sell that? Hey, come be a Muslim. It's great. And if you don't think it's great, we'll kill you. So, but like I said, you're God. You're up there looking down. You got the two camps, right? One's been here for like 2300 BC, right? So we're talking like 4,000 years or something, a long time. And then you got Islam, what is that, like 600 AD, something like that. So they're kind of warring with each other, right? Ideologically, they think differently, theologically. But they're both wrong. But God's up there like looking down, watching this. It's like, oh crap, they're going at it and they're both incorrect. So it stinks, to be up top and see that, I'm sure. But they're asking for these folks to be fired. So, I mean, in my opinion, that's going a bit far. It's not my country. I don't live in India. So maybe this type of activity, it's freedom of speech. You can go through the streets and say what you want. That's possible. But to demand that Muslims be fired just because they're Muslims, that seems like you're taking it a bit too far. It seems a bit much for me, but let's just watch the rest of it. So if a Muslim works in your shop, fire him immediately. I don't know why they say him. Maybe there's not a lot of females working on this street. It's odd. Shouldn't they say them? Should fire them immediately instead of him? I don't know why. Maybe that's just a slip of the tongue. But yeah, that seems like a bit much. There's no way you have 2 billion Muslims and they're all out there like looking for apostates to kill, and they all have 4 wives and they're all trying to kill infidels and stuff like that. There's no way. You got Christians in name only. I'm sure you have Muslims in name only too. So this seems way too aggressive in my opinion. You have 2 days. If you fail to do it, they're going to put a boycott poster outside their shop. I mean, like I said, I don't know the laws on India. Maybe I guess they have freedom of speech, right? They can go down the street and say what they want to say. If the owner is okay with you putting that poster up on their private property, I don't know. It's not my place to say. And then it's up to people to decide if they want to support that boycott. Me? If I have to go grocery shopping and I need things, I don't care what religion the person is behind the counter. Right? I'm just going to go in there. It's a business. I'm going in there to get my fruits and vegetables. That's why I'm there. Maybe get some almond milk, something like that. So I'm not really walking around asking people what religion they are. I mean, Christianity is the way. And as time goes on, it's going to get more and more and more obvious. So, Jesus is going to come on the clouds. It's going to be obvious. There's no way you can miss it. It's not something that's hidden, or Christ, if you will. So I'm not worried. Like, I don't run around like asking people in the shop, like, "Well, what religion are you?" Like I put up my videos. Hopefully this gets some play out there. It's definitely not reflecting my view counts, but that's okay. One day someone will see it. Or hopefully if they do see it, I just can't see the views. I don't know. But, this seems to be a bit much, in my opinion. But like I said, I'm not worried. I know Christianity is the way, obviously, for personal reasons. So, I just put the information out there and I let the truth speak for itself. I don't need to threaten anyone that if you're going to leave Christianity, someone's going to kill you. That's ridiculous. Police are walking along. I mean, it's a protest, so maybe they asked for that support. Religious violence. A surge. Okay, so apparently it's not just me realizing this. This is actually going on. There's actually a surge there. Deaths of 7 people. Yeah. If you know your religion is correct, you don't need to get this violent. I mean, I understand self-defense, right? If you've got, any religion, right? The guy's running at you with a knife, some crazy example like that, right? He wants to cut your head off, something weird like that. Do you have the right to defend yourself? Of course, right? There's evil in this world. We all have free will. We're all God's children, but we don't all act right. And some of us get our free will and decide that God doesn't exist. And then we just go around and we're selfish as we can possibly be, and we don't care what we do to other people. We'll go around and we'll steal and we'll be violent and we'll take things. We just do whatever we want because we think there are no consequences because there's no God, right? He's just out of the office. He's not there. God. Oh, not he, but God. So it's like God is not there, not worried about it. I'll do whatever I want because there are no consequences. Nothing will ever happen to me. In this very long journey that we're on, those scales will never get balanced. I have nothing to worry about. I mean, that is incorrect. That's not true. It's not how the system was designed. It's not how it works. Wow. So they're destroying buildings too. This is far more than just putting up boycott posters. Demolition of scores of Muslim-owned homes and businesses. Wow. Now, if that's some kind of like terrorist training camp, like I said, I'm not getting into Indian politics here, but maybe it's some kind of facility where they made drugs or terrorist training camp. I don't know. I don't know what this is. I can't imagine this is just some residential building that they just knocked down because they're Muslims. I can't imagine that's the case, but I don't know to be honest.
हमारे घर की घटना है। आप एक बात ध्यान रखो
22 districts. Out of that, only one district is of those Muslims, those dogs. Oof. Ouch. Okay, that's getting that's way too much there. That's getting on like the very violent, like, I can talk about Islam, I can talk about Muhammad's horrible examples, because you can go look that up for yourself. It's not just me saying it. Go look at it. But, and he was a false prophet, so that's not slandering. That's just being honest with you. And that wasn't Gabriel he was dealing with, because angels are benevolent. They don't fill you with terror to the point that you run home and you're like shaking and you're terrorized. Angels don't do that. Demons do, but angels don't. So I'm just speaking the truth, but to call them dogs, you don't know these people, right? They're Muslims, allegedly, right? They think they're Muslims anyway. But to call them dogs, that's way too far. You don't know them personally, so you can't say that, right? They could be Muslims in name only and literally not even know the Quran, not subscribe to any of those policies, not follow any of Muhammad's examples, which would be good on you. So yeah, that's very nasty language. That doesn't deal with like the sin issues. Like, you're just saying that they're bad because they're Muslims, not they're bad because they're doing, XYZ. Like, whatever sinful activities, if you could name those, that's one thing. But you can't just call an entire religion, religious practitioners like dogs. You have to kind of explain what you're talking about. Wow. See, this is no different than some radical Islamist. When Muslims are slaughtered, they will scream Ram's name. I think Ram is like your ultimate your ultimate deity in Hinduism. I think it's like polytheistic. You have like other gods and things, but so I guess Ram is like your god. So yeah, you're not allowed to slaughter anyone. Like, even though Muslims have been completely misled by a false prophet, that's true, right? But it's been going on for hundreds of years, like what, 1,400 years or something like that, 1,500 years. So you figure all the generations that have come, right, from the first people that were misled and then on, right? And, through birth you have a lot of Muslims, and then you also have people that are terrified to leave Islam because they don't want to get their head cut off. So I understand why they'd be a little apprehensive about shopping around for Christianity. If you know your entire family's going to disown you, maybe someone you've been close to your whole life is going to try to kill you, right? It's literally a religious mandate. You're an apostate. They have to come kill you, if they're true believers in the Quran. So I understand why people are scared to leave Islam, right? I get it. It could cost you your head, which is exactly why it's a false religion. God would never set it up that way. With God, everything is voluntary. You're given free will for a reason, but it's voluntary. You have to choose that narrow path. You can take the wide path, or the paths that lead off into other places, right? Like Hinduism, Islam, things like that. You can go on all these paths you want, but there's only one correct path. And to truly walk it, it's very, very narrow. To live a holy life, it's very narrow. People don't understand quite how narrow it is. I think they're starting to understand, but before they probably thought, oh, a narrow path, it's like this. Not really. You can do some of the things, but to really walk it, the path is narrow, right? As it should be, because that's winning the game. That's it. That's how you make it. But back to this, the violence. Like, Muslims are slaughtered. They will scream Ram's name. Well, Ram doesn't exist. Unless by Ram you just mean God, right? That's whatever. So there's just one God as part of the Trinity, right? You can look that up. The Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Incarnation, all-powerful, all-knowing God, and the Holy Spirit, which resides in all Christian believers. But slaughtered, there's no way God would condone that. Slaughtering all those people, because they're not all of them are worthy of this, right? Maybe the ones that are out there doing the really heinous stuff, but that's up to God. That's not our call. That's up to God. And they'll scream Ram's name. Ram doesn't exist. It's just God. But as you can see, this is way too violent, and I'm sure, just like all Muslims are not violent, I know that all Hindus aren't violent. I used to work with many of them for like 14 years, like very close interactions, constantly on the phone, constantly in meetings together. I've worked around many, many Hindus, okay? Just, they're not, the ones I work with were nothing like this. You hear all the wrath in his voice? That is like, that's not just anger, that is wrath. That is violent wrath. That is someone who wants to hurt people, at least the way he sounds. I don't know what's in his heart, God does, but just looking at him and listening to him, that sounds like wrath. That's way more than violence or just someone who's upset. That's a whole different level. That's like bloodshot eyes, just like rage. At least that's how it sounds to me. Narendra's really... Yeah, it's interesting over there, the BJP party. So I guess it's like national Hinduism, and they're kind of building it into the political system, almost like Sharia law with Islam. Yeah. Sharia law, that's another one. We should do a video on that. But yeah, it's very scary because you have two religions that aren't correct. They're incorrect. That's not the way. So you've got those two, and you're building political systems on a foundation of religious systems that don't work, that aren't accurate. So that's never going to work. And if his party is anything like these folks right here, you're going to have serious problems, because that is rage. So if he's got any of this stuff in the BJP party, good luck. Non-Hindus say it's worsened since Modi was elected in 2014. Yeah, I don't know much about Modi, to be quite honest. I know he's like a head of the BJP or very involved with that, and I know it's like a Hindu national group, so obviously I have serious concerns about that just because it's not Christianity, it's not the way. It's not the way. So, yeah, that's problematic, but as far as like who he is personally, I don't know him. I've seen him on a few YouTube videos, I've seen him on the news, that's about all I know. But if he's pushing this BJP, this Hindu nationalism, you're building it on a foundation of incorrect understanding. And if they're anything close to this violent, you're going to have serious problems. Hindu vigilante killed 2 Muslims for transporting cow meat. Oh yeah, let's go there. All right. So this is one of the things that I've always liked about Hinduism, is the fact that the cows are sacred, right? The cows are sacred, right? Let me pull up another window here. Sorry, I hate to do this while I'm on screen, but only cows, but what do they eat instead? Because someone told me at work that it wasn't. The cows are sacred, which all animals are sacred, so you were almost right. You had one part of it right. I don't want to look it up while I'm on screen. It's going to be awkward. But yeah, so you don't eat cows, they're sacred. So that's good job. That's correct. But all animals are sacred, right? We don't have to eat them. It's a choice. Like I said, with God, everything is voluntary. And you will be tested. Everything's voluntary. You have free will, but there are exams. And you have to pass those exams, and a lot of us don't. But I think it was, they don't harm cows, which is cool. But then there's something like an ox or something. There's some other animal that they get milk from. So it's like let me find that. This is going to be an awkward video. Sorry about that. What kind of milk? The gift from the gods. Yeah, and then the ghee, they butter. Yeah. Oh, come on, don't do this. Oh, this video is going to be a nightmare. Oh, jeez. Look at this. All this marketing. I can't take this. Yeah. I forget what kind of. Oh, it's right on the tip of my tongue, too. Sorry, this video is going to be a train wreck now. Is it ox milk or something? What is it? Oh well. Yeah, whatever. So, definitely never try this again. But, yeah. Essentially, they think cows are precious, right? You shouldn't do that. That's true. But there was some... Buffalo! It's buffalo milk. That's what it is. Yeah, so buffalo milk. So, I guess you can't hurt the cows, but buffaloes are okay because of like religion for some reason. I'm not going to take the bother to look that up. I've already train wrecked this video. But essentially, yeah, you think cows are precious, right? They're sacred because of your religion. Like I said, Hinduism, it's not the way. So that's why this doesn't line up. But all animals are precious, all of them. So it doesn't matter just because it's a cow or milk or bull or like whatever it is that you're drinking. You're not supposed to be drinking any of that at all. Like animals, we're supposed to be shepherds for the animals. We're not here to just eat them, to murder them and eat them, right? You have fruits and vegetables. That's what you're supposed to be eating and drinking. So that's what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, they had it partially right, but no, they've completely gotten off topic here. So yeah, back to the cow meat. So that's going too far. Like, I'm all about the animals, and I will do everything in my power to save all of them, and the sea life and everything, all of it, the planet, the insects, the animals, us, our souls, the planet, all of it. I'm going to save it all. But it's nice that you care about the cows, but you can't go around murdering people because they ate the cow, right? So we just have to get people to switch over. The diets have to be completely redone. It's a mess. Consider cows holy, but what about chickens? What about fish? What other animals? Far right Hindu possession. Yeah, so that's it. So sorry we got off topic there. But yeah, that's it. So very violent. If Modi's part of that BJP party and he's trying to incorporate Hindu nationalism the same way that they incorporated Islam in with Sharia law, good luck with that. You're going to have major problems because your foundation is wrong, right? Sharia law, you're basing it on Islam. Islam is incorrect. So it's like fruit from a poison tree. It's the same thing you're going to have, with the BJP working with national Hinduism. So, sorry if you don't like that information, but like I said, Christianity is the way, and I'd be a real jerk if I didn't tell you that, and I didn't kind of explain it, and also let you know that the road isn't this narrow, it's really narrow, and we have free will. So, God gives us free will, but we also have to make decisions, and decisions have consequences, and then that determines, how the rest of your journey goes. But that's it. Just wanted to share that. Sorry, I train wrecked it a little bit there. I won't be doing any more, browsing around like that while I'm in a video. So, lesson learned. But that's it. Have a great rest of your day. And remember, God loves you, wants to provide guidance for all of us so that we can have a wonderful journey. But to do that, we have to kind of know the rules of the road and how things work, and that's what he would like to tell us now. So enjoy the rest of your day. See ya.